to comment, at least publicly, on Hamilton's remarks. The feeling here is that these clashes in northern Iraq between these two dissident Kurdish groups are basically, well, it represents a civil war, and the United States has no intention to get involved there unless Saddam Hussein again commits his forces. Jack?
John, thank you. NBC's John Palmer tonight at the White House. In the meantime, 24,000 Americans are on duty in the Persian Gulf tonight, a flotilla and 200 aircraft, all assigned to keep the peace. NBC's Fred Francis aboard ship tonight.
These Navy jets today in the Persian Gulf are the muscle enforcing the airspace that the U.S. now calls its new, larger no-fly zone. F-18s and F-14s now roar off at a slightly higher tempo than they did 1 week ago. And yet, after the much publicized military edict, U.S. combat pilots are not even flying in the expanded zone, which extends another 60 miles towards Baghdad. NBC News has learned that U.S. jets rarely cross into the area.
We don't need to go in there ourselves to enforce it. With our weaponry and so forth and our ability to see what's out there, we can see if there's any violations really without going into that extra box, should we choose.
Perhaps. But one military source said flying so close to Baghdad might be too provocative. So who really came out ahead in this latest scrape with Saddam? Did the 44 cruise missiles fired at 15 Iraqi air defense targets really hurt? Did it teach the dictator a lesson? Force him to follow the rules? No, say most analysts. Besides losing the use of 2 air bases, Saddam really did quite well. First, experts say, most of the Iraqi air defense targets destroyed can be quickly rebuilt. Second, Saddam now exerts more control over the Kurdish region than he has had since the Gulf War. And finally, he has caused the first serious rift in the ranks of America's allies in 5 years. But even so, U.S. actions did send a message that Saddam would pay a price for his actions and a warning that any move south toward Kuwait wouldn't be tolerated. Today, the men on the destroyer Russell, who fired 8 of the 44 missiles, got a look at the blast damage done by their own weapons. Many said they hoped they didn't have to do it again, because after all, they did kill people.
I just realized, you know, somewhere in Iraq that morning, somebody's father wasn't going to go home, and that made me feel kind of strange.
Fred Francis, NBC News, in the Persian Gulf.
There are positive signs tonight that peace is finally coming to Chechnya. The Russian army began its withdrawal today. 20 months of war in Chechnya left 80,000 dead and 230,000 wounded. Negotiators now have 5 years to decide the fate of an independent Chechnya. And when NBC Nightly News continues, a consumer alert. Deals which really are too good to be true.